Hello and welcome to another update. I want to go ahead and post another update to show you guys that I am working on the game. Progress is a little slower this week because I ended up having to redo some systems. I switched from a pooling system for projectiles to a mesh draw instanced system, which what that does is it uh, takes a single mesh for each different projectile type and draws a single instance multiple times to the GPU. And so it reduces the number of draw calls. Currently, right now in the scene is about 600 draw calls, even though there's roughly 1,000 projectiles. That 600 draw calls includes, all the UI elements, all the ship mesh, which there's 148 ships and 63 turrets. And the turrets have separate components, of course, so they can rotate on the X and Y axis. So there's actually a couple of different draw calls for every single individual turret as well. The performance is really good. I've done a lot of optimizations this week. That's been my focus, is to get it running smooth as butter, without any major frame drops. And as you can see, I'm pushing 170 frames per second with 150 ships, with very little big jumps in the frame rate, big frame drops, which 20, 30, 40 frame drop here or there at this high range, at 170 isn't a huge deal, but still, I don't like to see it happen because I still have a lot of other systems to add, a lot of complex AI and targeting systems, uh, the whole damage, weapon damage systems. There's still a lot to add that's going to bring CPU overhead, mostly. As far as graphics are not what is using the most resources. It's actually less than 3 milliseconds of the overall. So, graphics is really good. I have a lot of room there uh, to add better particle effects, better explosive effects, and things like that. And so let's talk about some other things I worked on a whole bunch of other things too. I worked on missiles. So, uh, who would have thought missiles would be so complicated? When I started doing missiles, I was like, this is going to be easy. This is going to be, pretty easy and quick. But not when you're dealing with moving ships. So, issues with firing missiles from ships, especially ships that move pretty fast, is they can end up turning into the missiles. And the missiles are physics based. So, even if I were to disable the colliders on the missiles for a set period of time, initially, the ship can still, a lot of times still actually turn into it depending on the direction and the speed of the turn. And so what I've done is I built a localized guide system that keeps the missile with the rotation, the orientation of the ship, and moves it with the velocity of the ship while it's launching. So you can see the missiles, they shoot out and they don't start homing until they reach the end of the guide point away from the ship. And that helps the missiles keep the missiles from actually hitting the ship itself that they're being fired from. Also, other ships will attempt to shoot down missiles. Um, if they have point defense guns, like this minigun here on this, uh, this is would be considered a gunship. It's larger than a fighter. It has 2 turrets on it. Let's see here. Let's see if it tries to shoot it down. Well, so if the guns are overheated, then they won't fire. Lasers will definitely be better for shooting down missiles as they're a lot more accurate. So if I were to find the carrier over here, see if we can see if it's shooting any lasers. So I actually put two different kinds of lasers on the carrier, which one is a kind of a burst fire laser that would eventually have lower damage but have a higher frequency rate of fire without overheating, and then a longer duration laser that overheats and more quickly and would have a longer recharge time. So, and you can see it's firing, but the angle's off, so I need to adjust the minimum targeting angle to fire on the lasers so they don't fire until the target's in a smaller angle window. So, still some work to do with target acquisition on the turrets. But I'm definitely moving on now. I'm very happy with the performance. And there's not a whole lot more I can do to push more frames out. I really don't think so. So I'm gonna go ahead and start working on the next thing, which is hull damage, hull and shield damage, weapon damage, and the UI bars there that will display the hit points basically for the shield and the hull, and go ahead and get those functional, and then go ahead and add some ship destruction particle effects. I will add hull damage where the hull will catch on fire and random locations and stuff as the ship is damaged for visual effects later. Uh, I'm not going to do that initially because I definitely want to uh, get get that system in place so I can do what I really want to do, which is flying, flying the ship, flying a ship with a cockpit, and shooting at enemies and engaging in some combat. And on top of all this is the minimap. The minimap here is functional. It's also updating. I could actually get a little bit more, a little performance bump if I were to change the system where you have to turn the minimap on. It's currently constantly basically being updated, and that does take about 2% of the CPU overhead to update all these uh, canvas transforms. Uh, the ships in the minimap don't actually, they stay in one direction. I was actually trying to update that so you could see the direction they're traveling in, but it gets a little funky uh, because this is a 2D map and the ships are moving in 3D space, so they could be going up or down, and it might look like they're going in a different direction. Also, that takes overhead to process that to get an angle to adjust the rotation of these icons on the mini map. So the more complex I make the mini map, the more likely it is that I'll make it something that has to be turned on and off. That way it doesn't affect performance during gameplay. Meaning maybe it's only on during tactical view, but definitely probably turn it off during combat. Now, in the actual cockpit of ships, there could be a mini map in there that shows the location of the enemies around you, but that would be much fewer ships to update as opposed to 150 that are currently on the mini map right now. Oh, one more thing is that this carrier I'm probably going to replace pretty soon with I think the actual ship that's going to be in the game, one of the main player ships that you will launch your fighter craft from, our player flyable ships. And that's this ship right here. It has a hangar bay. Unfortunately, this model, uh, it's hard to get exactly what you need for your game already made on the asset store on Unity. And, you know, I may end up having, see if I can have a modeler make a door for this, because really it needs a functional door that can close. So when you dock or you launch a fighter craft, it closes and it would appear more realistic to have a door that opens and closes basically. Now, once I get that set up, basically you'll be able to stand in here and walk around in here. Unfortunately, these textures aren't very high resolution. I mean, I like the ship models. It's all right. It's decently optimized for video games, but it's the textures are just way too low resolution uh, for what I need, especially for a first-person view. Now, it may be possible for me to take these textures and make some alpha masks and then remap uh, a more high resolution texture inside the um, something like a metallic texture or something inside the hangar bay, just so if I did have a first person view and a first person controller walking around in there, it would just look better than that pixelated mess. So these, you know, you can see the missiles here. They basically continuously fire for now. Later on in the actual game, they won't. They'll have a recharge time. So, and also a little bit better target acquisition. So basically, it's just targeting the ship here, and it's just constantly hitting it with missiles. And I was also thinking that on capital ships have a sensor sphere collider around them, and I can detect incoming missiles. Capital ships, I may have them automatically shoot at missiles within their sphere. So right now, missiles are tracked only by the target of the missile. So this, like a capital ship, if a missile is flying by it and it's not being targeted by the missile, it doesn't technically, it's not aware of it. So it's not updating the targeting for the turrets. but I may change that to where capital ships will target any missiles that are not belonging to them or their team members, um, and shoot them down. I feel like that might be a little bit more realistic than just having them ignore them. And there's also a lot of work to do to the indicator, on-screen indicator system. Right now, you can see as I approach ships, it does turn on the indicators for the turrets. Actually, that's kind of a glitch you're seeing right there. That's something I definitely need to fix, but I need to spend some time working on the indicator system. What's going to happen is you'll actually select a ship, or when you look at a ship, it'll actually show you the turrets and the components. Later, there's going to be components on ships, not just turrets, but there'll be objects that are basically fuel containers, ammunition containers, a sensor. If you destroy the sensor, then the ship won't be able to acquire targets, or it could affect its ability to target accurately. Basically, if you destroy the sensor array, and there'll be a navigation array and different components on the ships that can be destroyed that will affect the ship's behavior if you destroy that component, and also its combat ability. And also, you'll be able to blow turrets up on ships. So uh, that'll be part of the gameplay for the player. Is you know, not just shooting at the capital ships, but taking them down component by component. So if you've been watching the video, you can see that the frame rate has been very, very stable. And that's what I wanted to show you guys in this update. I will be adding another ship too, another small capital ship and a small gunship that will have lasers, some laser turrets on them. Laser turrets have uh, a very small resource footprint as compared to projectiles, because each one of these individual projectiles does have a physics raycast happening on a frequency. It doesn't happen every single frame, but the frequency is good enough to where you don't see projectiles flying through colliders, but it does help with the CPU overhead by not having those raycasts fire every single frame. Anyway, guys, thanks for watching. Do remember to like, share, and subscribe if you like the project so far. And hopefully in my next update, it won't take too long to get the hull and weapon damage and the UI stuff done for that integrated. And we can actually start seeing ships destroying each other at that point. Before I start on the player flight controller and the ability to transition from the tactical view, the fly cam, to the player flight controller, which later on essentially I do believe I'll have a UI and a ship selection, and then you'll select your ship and it'll launch. You'll launch out of the hangar bay of your basically your flagship. What would be your flagship? Everyone have a very blessed day, and I will see you in the next update.